Hi guys, a warm welcome to the Niels van Roij Design channel again, and today I'll talk you through the interior design and some of the steps we took designing the interior of our Breadvan Hommage coachbuilt project. So what we see here is one of the first renderings I did actually on the interior of the car, and it's just the original base car. So nothing here has been changed. It's a rendering that is sort of the base for taking the work forward. It's sometimes good to have a full understanding of what it is you're working with, and in this case I decided let's just make a full interior rendering of the actual base car, 100% one-to-one with all its mistakes and its quirks, its features, its elements that we want to take forward, elements we might want to skip, everything just as is. In the previous video I shared about taking the car apart, or actually looking at the hard points and taking the car apart. We have discussed this center stack and how messy it is if you see how all these elements do not line up. We discussed the placement of, for instance, the buttons here, the radio. But what is really important to mention for the interior of this specific base car is that it's just not that nice. The buttons, the switch gear in car design language is all a bit plasticky. It has this very typical 90s, early 2000 problem where the material would get sort of sticky, chewing gummy, and quite horrible. So we had to do something about that anyway, improving that, changing it. And we actually had a look at what is it that you're touching from the moment you open the car with your remote control. So you walk towards your car, you click the remote control, your hand goes to the door, you open the door, you pull it towards you, you step in. Well, what do you touch? Probably the steering wheel, you hold yourself back from the seat, probably the center console. What is it that you feel, right? You sit inside of the car, you feel the elements like the seat, you feel obviously the steering wheel, and you feel the gear lever. What else would you touch if you were inside of the car? You start the car, so there's the ignition there, the key. Then you will have a look at, or at least feel, the pedals, the clutch. You push it in, so you feel it with your foot. You'll have a look at the dials, you see if everything is okay. You have a look at these dials, sort of secondary dials, oil temperature, stuff like that. Then you probably will turn on either the heating or the air conditioning. You might want to change the direction of the vents. So we said, okay, we should have a look at the design of these as well. That gear lever obviously is important. And one of the things we haven't discussed yet is if you're inside of the car, how you close that door. Well, you would do that with that element. And in our previous video, we already discussed it's not very good looking. So all these different steps we basically mapped out. We made a list of every single thing you will either look at or, more importantly, actually touch when you get inside of your coach-built motor car. And all of these different steps we decided to do something with. So improve them, change them, redesign them. The base interior was the starting point for that. And here you see already an early change. Obviously you see the seats being in a different color. You see red now being a theme, so you see the red around the rear view mirror, the little centralizer there, or the 12 o'clock position of the steering wheel. You see the rev counter centralized now. So there's quite a significant change if you look at the instrument pinnacle there. So you see how we've changed the layout of that, where only the outer two are original, and then we placed the rev counter large in the middle in red. So if we have a look at that whole interior again, what else did we change? Well, for instance, the steering wheel, it's more sporty here, but also what I just mentioned, these air vents there. So have a look at them compared to the original. It's sort of a darky, plasticky element. And what if we would make that out of aluminium? Well, we've done the same here with the switch gear there in the middle of the dashboard. And then obviously that whole center console. Let's have a look at the history, obviously. So if you have a look at classic race cars, you see none of them have that large center stack running all the way towards the back. So we said, let's just take that out and maybe only have a small element there for some very important buttons and switchgear you cannot miss perhaps. But apart from that, just have a focus on that gated shifter over there. And maybe we can even, open it up, show the mechanicals running towards that transaxle into the back of the car. So you see, with only relatively small changes, steering wheel, instrument binnacle, the color and materials of switchgear and air vents, the center stack, and a few touches of red here and there, the interior is quite significantly changed. And that brings us to the next iteration, which is all black, but you see there is also a changed door panel. So if you look on your right hand side, the ugly element there is gone because it's now replaced. You see, we have carried over the initial design lines coming from the dashboard into the door, but completely opened up, a bit inspired again by race cars from the 60s, the 70s, even the 80s, with this open door where you would pull the string to get out basically. Have a look at that rear view mirror there, because it's on the ceiling normally, but here it's placed on the dashboard and in carbon fiber. So if you have a quick look at that, there's more carbon fiber in the interior here. It's on the entire instrument unit, let's say. So this entire element here is carbon fiber. Then this there is carbon fiber. That element is carbon fiber. And then the switch gear itself is all metal. So it could be, for instance, aluminium that has been milled. You can see the heart of the steering wheel is again a carbon fiber weave. And if we would have a look at the gear lever there, something rather special as well. That gated shifter is something that is not often used if you go really back into history. So this is actually a leather sort of pouch almost around or surrounding the gear lever, and there is a simple lace there tying it all together. And this is a historically significant way, you could argue, to look at the interior. Here obviously we have this fire extinguisher, and because the design team here is black and gray, we decided to have that completely aluminium matching, obviously the gear lever matching all the different switch gear elements of the car. Let's go back again to the OEM setup and then have a look at what we did to it. Again, small changes, because it's not about blowing it all up and doing something crazy. It's about small yet significant changes. And that brings us to the next idea. And what is important to say, that every single color that we've used, so in this case the red seats and the red details, the black, and in the last third element here, the blue, they're all historically significant colors. It's not just a nice color blue, not just a nice color red or black. It's actually looking at the history, looking at race cars from the 60s, the gentleman races, and having a look at the materials used in these specific cars. So here, if we zoom into the instrument binnacle, you see the change of color, but not a change of position of the rev counter. And here again, that seat color is very important. We only cleaned up the center console without really changing its design. Obviously the steering wheel has been changed, the position of the rear view mirror has been changed. And what is important here to show you is that this rear view mirror is actually made out of aluminium. This is hand beaten, so every time you would touch that rear view mirror, you would feel the little dents, the little scratches, the little impact moments of the hammer beating that aluminium element into shape. This is something significant to do because every time the driver would touch that rear view mirror, he would be reminded that this is not just any ordinary car. This is his handmade, bespoke motor car designed around him. And you would not only see that by sitting in the interior, driving the car, but you would feel it. So the tactile properties of an interior, a car interior, are always important. And with a coach-built motor car, one could argue it's even more important. So let's have a look at another red interior. And I can compare the two. So only a few changes there, mainly around the center console. We see this very rough weave, this rough diamond stitch here on the center console, and it's rough for a reason, again historically significant. It's something that was done and used a lot, not just on the center console of these race cars, but even on the headliner. That's what we've done here as well, and this is what one could say is sort of this final design. You can see compared to that first initial blue design of the interior, the changes are quite significant on all sorts of levels. So what we see is we have the blue seats, we have a little blue padding there on the bespoke door panel. So we said let's have a look at that door panel and enhance it rather than change it, and that's one of the things we've done here in the design. So it goes with the original flow. The center console here is gone completely, and you have this nice big block of aluminium where the gated shifter is mounted upon, and this again is historically significant. You would see that a lot in cars from the 50s, 60s, 70s. You wouldn't have that massive center console that you have on modern cars, but you have that straight up dashboard that would then end up just there on the transmission tunnel, and the transmission tunnel is covered in quilted leather. We have the fire extinguisher there with little straps made out of the same blue Alcantara that we have on the steering wheel here as well. Even here on the emergency brake, not every single element you see on this sketch will eventually be used or made, but it is helpful to make these renderings to show the client what is possible. We have toggle switches here, for instance. We've got milled aluminium switches there. We've got these milled aluminium air vents, and that lovely rear view mirror there that would be cold to the touch. You could grab, and immediately it reminds you of the fact that this is a handmade coach-built motor car. Thank you for watching this video on car design for coach building. And again, like always, please like and subscribe, share the video and leave a comment. Hit that notification button so you will be always aware of new videos coming.